10 Worst Natural Disasters in the World. What are the worst disasters that have ever happened? Our planet is the only known celestial body to have both a fully functioning climate system and active plate tectonics. But natural disasters have made the Earth a potentially dangerous place to call home. These unfortunate but inevitable occurrences are part of life for any species that calls our blue marble home. Evolving about 100,000 years ago, the modern man has barely been around for but a blink of an eye of the Earth's history. And while we've been spared some of the greatest catastrophes to ever rock this planet, we faced our fair share of natural disasters. Today, we'll be taking a look at the top 10 worst natural disasters in the world. Hey guys, welcome to Information Forge, where we bring you the juiciest contents. Number 10, 2020, the Philippines earthquake. 2020 just isn't done with us. Just a few weeks ago, a 6.6 magnitude earthquake was reported to have struck the island province of Masbate in the Philippines on August 18, 2020, leaving at least 2 dead and 170 injured. The Philippines Institute of Volcanology and Seismology initially reported a magnitude 6.5 earthquake striking at 8:03 a.m. Philippine Standard Time in Katigan, Masbate. The report was later revised to a magnitude 6.6 earthquake. The earthquake was also felt in several parts of Luzon and the Visayas. The fault from which the earthquake originated is located on the Masbate segment of the Philippine Fault System. It is not the deadliest natural disaster in the world, but surely it must have had a huge impact on the citizens of the region. Number 9, 526, Antioch earthquake. Mother Nature can be immensely beautiful, devilishly evil, and everything in between. As with all historical quakes, precise death tolls for the Antioch earthquake of AD 526 are hard to come by. But contemporary chronicler John Malalas wrote at the time that about 250,000 people died when the temblor hit the Byzantine city, now Turkey, in May of that year. Malalas attributed the disaster to the wrath of God and reported that ghastly fire outbreaks destroying everything in Antioch that the earthquake itself did not. The estimated magnitude for the earthquake is 7.0 on the surface wave magnitude scale. It was followed by 18 months of aftershocks. The earthquake caused severe damage to many of the buildings in Antioch, including Constantine's great octagonal church, Domus Aurea, built on an island in the Orontes River. Only houses built close to the mountain are said to have survived. According to a 2007 paper in the Medieval History Journal, the death toll was higher than it would have been at other times of the year because the city was full of tourists celebrating Ascension Day. 1,500 years later, and this is still one of the most tragic natural disasters of all time. Number 8, 1920, Haiyuan earthquake. On December 16, 1920, an earthquake hit at the Haiyuan region around 7:05 p.m. in Ganshu, Sichuan time. The quake impact was reportedly 7.8 on the Richter magnitude scale and was followed by a series of aftershocks for 3 years. Today's Chinese media claimed the earthquake was of magnitude 8.5, although the seismic scale is not specified. It caused total destruction in the Lijumbun Haiyuan Gayanchi area and was assigned the maximum intensity on the Mercalli intensity scale. Over 73,000 people were killed in Haiyuan County. The quake caused rivers to change course and sent down landslides, burying the village of Sujiahe in Shiji County. More than 30,000 people were killed in Guyuan County. The Sufi Jaria Muslim Hui leader Ma Yuanzhan and his son died in the earthquake when the roof of the mosque they were in collapsed in Jiangxinchuan. Over 270,000 deaths were reported. Many more perished because of cold, as the frequent aftershocks caused the survivors to live in fear of building anything other than temporary shelters. So, severe winter cold killed many who had lived through the original earthquake. Although Haiyuan is on its way back to its former glory, 1 century later, and traces of this devastating occurrence can still be felt in the city. Number 7, 2010 Haiti earthquake. Here's one infamous occurrence that a lot of Haitians would recall. On Tuesday, the 12th of January 2010, the Caribbean country was hit by a catastrophic magnitude 7.8 earthquake with an epicenter near the town of Léogâne West and approximately 25 kilometers or 16 miles west of Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti. The earthquake, which occurred at 4:53 Haitian time, affected an estimated 3 million people. For a population of 11 million people, that is a lot to take in. Death toll were originally reported to have ranged from 100,000 to about 160,000. However, the Haitian government figures later reported 220,000 to 316,000, but these later figures are a matter of some dispute. By 24th of January, at least 52 aftershocks measuring 4.5 or greater had been recorded. The earthquake caused major damage in Port-au-Prince, Jacmel, and other cities in the region. Notable landmark buildings were significantly damaged or destroyed, including the Presidential Palace, the National Assembly Building, the Port-au-Prince Cathedral, and even the main jail. Among those killed were Archbishop of Port-au-Prince, Joseph Serge Miot, and the political opposition leader, Mika Gaillard. The headquarters of the United Nations Stabilization Mission in Haiti, MINUSTA, located in the capital, collapsed, killing many, including the mission's chief, Hedi Anabi. To this day, Haiti is still struggling to recover from this catastrophic disaster. Over 1.5 million people were displaced by the earthquake. 10 years later, many of them still do not have a place to call home. Number 6. 1839 India Cyclone. On November 25, 1839, a ravaging cyclone slammed the bustling city of Coringa, India. It is historically tied with the 1737 Calcutta cyclone as the second deadliest cyclone in recorded history, with a death toll about 300,000. The strong winds and a 40-foot storm surge resulted in an absolute chaos that went on for many weeks, claiming many lives along with it. Even after the initial shock, citizens were not able to find clean water and food, so hunger and dehydration started claiming lives one by one. However, this is not the first time that the city would be visited by devastating winds. 50 years before this occurrence, the city was hit by a cyclone which only claimed about 20,000 lives. The city was able to recover pretty fast, but not this time. Beyond human tragedy, more than 20,000 shipping vessels were also destroyed, cutting off the commerce and economy of the city. Those who survived had to move to find a new city to call home and attempt to start life anew. Number 5. 1970 The Bhola Cyclone. There have been several cyclones recorded in the world's natural disaster history. The 1737 Calcutta cyclone and the 1839 India cyclone are some of the deadliest tropical cyclones. However, none of them took more lives than the devastating cyclone that struck the eastern Pakistan region, now known as Bangladesh, and India's West Bengal on November 3, 1970. It remains the deadliest tropical cyclone ever recorded and one of the deadliest natural disasters, claiming over 500,000 lives with a single blow. Definitely one of Mother Nature's finest knockout punches. This cyclone was the sixth cyclonic storm of the 1970 North Indian Ocean cyclone season and also the season's strongest. The cyclone formed over the central Bay of Bengal on November 8th and traveled northward, intensifying as it did so. It reached its peak with winds of 185 kilometers an hour, about 115 miles per hour, on November 11th, and made landfall on the coast of East Pakistan on the following afternoon. The storm surge devastated many of the offshore islands, wiping out villages and destroying crops throughout the region. In the most severely affected Upazila Tamzumuddin, over 45% of the population of 167,000 were killed by the storm. Number 4. 1976 Tangshan earthquake. Nature has a good way of humbling us humans. Even with all of our huge technological breakthroughs and scientific advancements, extreme weather events and natural hazards can prove too great for us to overcome. The Tangshan earthquake is one of those cases. Just around 3:42 a.m. in the morning of July 28, 1976, the citizens of the Tangshan region in Hebei, China were asleep. Some were probably dreaming about their dream of cars or being a superhero. We've all thought about being Superman at least once. Suddenly, the blast from a magnitude 7.6 earthquake hit the region, and in just a few minutes, over 85% of the buildings in Tangshan collapsed or were unusable. All services failed, and most of the highway and railway bridges collapsed or were seriously damaged. Just as shocking was the 7.1 magnitude aftershock that rocked the city only 15 hours later. And although the scientific prediction of an earthquake is still in its infancy, nature sometimes gives us a heads up before one ensues. In a village just outside the Tangshan region, it was reported that well water fell 3 times deeper before the earthquake. Another village suffered a gas spill, which later led to several fire outbreaks around the village. Animals were also reported to have acted strangely a few days before the earthquake, with forest animals running hard to find hiding places. Once the quake was over, the city had been leveled along with at least 242,000 people. However, some reports have said that the death toll was about 3 times this number, making this the third or possibly second deadliest earthquake in recorded history. Number 3, 1556 Shaanxi earthquake. This is officially the deadliest earthquake in recorded history. The morning of January 23, 1556 was one like no other. The earthquake, which occurred during the Ming Dynasty, claimed about 830,000 lives and affecting more than 97 different counties in more than 10 provinces of China. Some buildings in the cities of Beijing, Chengdu, and Shanghai were also slightly damaged. The deadly impact of the earthquake went as far as 840 km wide or 520 miles in area. In some of the affected counties, as much as 60% of the population were killed. Most of the population in the area at the time lived in yaodongs, artificial caves in lowest cliffs. These collapsed in great numbers, causing many casualties. The aftermath of the earthquake caused as much damage as the disaster itself. The earthquake leveled mountains, opened up grounds that were about 66 feet deep, altered the path of rivers, caused massive flooding, produced massive landslides, and ignited fires that lasted for days. Number 2, 1887 Yellow River flood. The Yellow River is one of the longest rivers in China. This river had always been prone to flooding due to the elevated nature of the river running between dikes above the broad plains surrounding it. The flood, which began in September 1887, killed at least 900,000 people. The highest estimated death toll is, however, 2 million. This is no doubt one of the deadliest natural disasters ever recorded. For centuries, farmers living near the Yellow River had built dikes to contain the rivers, which over time flowed higher because, not allowed to flood, they had to deposit their silt on the riverbed. In 1887, this rising river, swollen by days of heavy rain, overcame the dikes on around 28th of September, causing a massive flood. The flood continued for 3 months and destroyed lives as well as crops. Since there were no international unit to measure a flood's strength, it is usually classified by the extent of the damage done, the depth of the water, and the number of casualties. The waters of the Yellow River are generally thought to have broken through the dikes in Haiyuan near the city of Zhengzhou in Henan province. Owing to the low-lying plains near the area, the flood spread very quickly throughout northern China, covering an estimated 50,000 square miles, 130,000 kilometers squared, swamping agricultural settlements and commercial centers. After the flood, 2 million people were left homeless. The resulting pandemic and lack of basic essentials claimed as many lives as those lost directly to the flood. Number 1, 1931, the China floods. This disaster bears a river to the previous Yellow River flood, only that this time it took twice as much lives as the latter. China is a very old civilization with many old cities built around rivers. Unfortunately, most of these rivers are erratic and are prone to flooding, but no year in the Chinese recorded history did they have it as bad as 1931. This year, the three of the biggest Chinese rivers, the Yellow River, Yangtze River, and Huai River, all flooded within the same period. From direct flood hit and aftermath effect, between 1 and 4 million people were killed in this disaster, making it the worst natural disaster of all time. Maybe sometimes nature just likes to give us a reminder of who's the boss. Anyway, if you like this video, do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.